The emergence of the Transcendental Club can be observed in the first half of the 19th century. Ralph Waldo Emerson, in his lecture, The Transcendentalist, has propounded the principles of the club. The chief members of the Transcendental Club were Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, Elizabeth Peabody, Jones Very, Frederick Henry Hedge, Theodore Parker, William Henry Channing, and George Ripley. The Transcendentalists were highly influenced by the German philosopher Immanuel Kant, and they were inspired by the two great Romantic poets William Wadsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. The Transcendentalists believed in the power of intuition and private conscience because they considered them as valid moral guides. The Transcendental Club was not a formal group as such, but it was a loose group of thinkers and philosophers. Welcome back to Literature Guide. The Saturday Club was another group emerged in the first half of the 19th century. The chief members of the Saturday Club were Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, James Russell Lowell, and Benjamin Pierce. The Saturday Club had a mouthpiece in the literary periodical called Atlantic Monthly Magazine. James Russell Lowell was the chief editor of the magazine. In his poem At the Saturday Club, Oliver Wendell Holmes has described the sweet memories of the meetings held at the Saturday Club. The poem At the Saturday Club was published in 1884. The Saturday Club was a group of scientists, philosophers, historians, and writers of the first part of the 19th century. I have already published 4 videos on literary clubs and groups. This video will also be useful for you for the NET and SET exams conducted by UGC India. If you want to get more information, you can visit a website. The link of the website is there on the screen. If you really like the content produced by this channel, do like and subscribe Literature Guide. Let's dive into a video and enjoy the video.
Transcendental Club. The Transcendental Club was a group of writers and thinkers of the first half of the 19th century. It was not a formal group as such, but a group of writers and intellectuals who had similar literary tastes and principles. They used to assemble at Emerson's house to discuss social, religious, philosophical, and economical issues of the period. The Transcendental Club had revolutionary ideas which changed the countenance of the United States. In 1841, Ralph Waldo Emerson expressed his theories of transcendentalism in his lecture The Transcendentalist, which is based on the philosophical doctrines propounded by Immanuel Kant. According to Kant, the cognizance of categories, shapes and various forms such as space, time, and quantity are imposed on whatever we see and perceive by the constitution of human mind. The Transcendentalist Club adhered to Immanuel Kant's theories of intuitive knowledge. The Transcendentalists considered natural phenomena as symbols of higher spiritual truths. In his essay, the American scholar Emerson has appealed America to assert its intellectual independence of Europe. His essay Nature, published in 1836, can be deemed as the manifesto of Transcendentalism. The Transcendentalists believed in the power of intuition and private conscience because for them they are valid moral guides. In America, Transcendentalism was at its acme between 1835 and 1860, especially in New England. In his essay, the poet, Ralph Waldo Emerson declares, "America is a poem in our eyes." The Transcendentalism was greatly inspired by German philosophy, and the theories of the great Romantic poets and thinkers like William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and Thomas Carlyle. It had a mouthpiece in the literary periodical The Dial, which began in 1840. Another important member of Transcendentalism is Henry David Thoreau, who was a mystic, a transcendentalist, and natural philosopher. He produced his seminal book Walden, or Life in the Woods, in 1854. Thoreau's Walden holds the spirit of transcendentalism, which questions the material progress man has made and the prevailing work ethic of the time. Henry Thoreau's Walden presents his life in self-sufficiency and his agricultural experiments in the vicinity of a Walden pond, near Concord. Henry Thoreau's Walden is written in autobiographical vein, which displays a kind of revolt against modern materialism. It is important to note that Henry Thoreau's theory of passive resistance was later on adopted by M.K. Gandhi in the Indian freedom movement. Henry Thoreau has propounded his theories in his essay Civil Disobedience, which was published in 1849. Some of the members of Transcendental Club were Margaret Fuller, Frederick Henry Hedge, Theodore Parker, Amos Bronson Alcott, William Henry Channing, Elizabeth Peabody, George Ripley, and Jones Very. The Transcendentalists' way of interpreting nature in symbolic terms influenced the works of Nathaniel Hawthorne, Herman Melville, and Walt Whitman. The transcendental utopian principles of the Transcendental Club can be traced in the Brook Farm community of George Ripley. It was a communal experiment in West Roxbury, Massachusetts, near Boston. It began in 1841 and ceased to work in 1847 due to disagreement and insufficient soil fertility at Brook Farm. The primary goal of the Brook Farm Institute of Agriculture and Education was to cater to its members an opportunity for cultural pursuits and amusement with education. The members of the Brook Farm would work on the basis of rotation, and they would also attend lectures, read, write and discuss various issues at the Brook Farm. Nathaniel Hawthorne has artistically depicted his own experiences at the Brook Farm community in his novel, The Blithedale Romance, when he resided there in 1841. It was published in 1852. Saturday Club. The Saturday Club was a loose group of intellectual writers, scientists, philosophers, historians, and thinkers of the first half of the 19th century who resided in Boston and Cambridge, Massachusetts. It had no specific rules or principles. The members of the club would discuss many issues in the monthly meetings. The Saturday Club had a mouthpiece in a literary periodical, Atlantic Monthly. Many works of the writers appeared in the Atlantic Monthly magazine. Some of the chief members of the Saturday Club were Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Louis Agassiz, Oliver Wendell Holmes, James Russell Lowell, and Benjamin Pierce. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow produced his prose romance, Hyperion, which deals with the journey of a young man who tries to forget the hardships and pains of his life in the course of travel. The work was published in 1839. It is pregnant with philosophical discourses, poems and legends. Oliver Wendell Holmes composed some fine reflective essays such as Autocrat at the Breakfast Table, published in 1858, The Poet at the Breakfast Table in 1872, and Over the Teacups in 1891. He also produced a poem called At the Saturday Club, which deals with the memories of meetings at the Saturday Club. It was published in 1884. James Russell Lowell worked as an editor of the Atlantic Monthly magazine. He became famous for his satirical poetry known as Bigelow Papers. It deals with James Russell Lowell's opposition to the Mexican-American War. It is important to note that the first series was first published in a newspaper, the Boston Courier, between 1846 and 1848. The second series of Bigelow Papers appeared in the Atlantic Monthly in 1867.
How is the video? I hope you liked the video. This is my 5th video on literary clubs and groups. The 4 videos on literary clubs and groups have already been uploaded on this channel, Literature Guide. For more information, you can visit a website. The link of the website is there on the screen. This website will be useful for those who have been pursuing the NET and SET exams conducted by UGC India. I will meet you soon with a new and fresh topic of English literature. Meet you.